Marathon Season 2 has elevated the game even further compared to Season 1, making it much more accessible, much more complex, and at the same time far more player-friendly. If, for just a second, you are willing to ignore the ongoing discussions about player numbers and player counts that have been plaguing Reddit, Steam, and everything in between, feel free to hear me out, because I genuinely believe this game can become even better, provided Bungie does not abandon it the way many people feel they did with Destiny 2. Now, Destiny 2 is not actually abandoned. I dramatise that a little. It is more in a sort of cryostasis, much like the first game. This means that while it may no longer receive major content updates, you can still download it and play as much as you want, since the servers are not shutting down. The game simply won't receive new updates, but that does not make it any less playable. A lot of people prefer to blame Marathon for everything that happened with Destiny, and to be fair, it is understandable. Destiny 2 was put on the bench while Marathon continues to receive resources because Bungie expects it to have a future. And honestly, that is something I want as well. I have never liked seeing games shut down, especially games that I have personally played. Every game can find a loyal player base willing to stick around for years. Unfortunately, for a game to survive, it also needs to make money, or at least generate enough revenue to satisfy shareholders. But that is an entirely different discussion. This might not have been the best way to start a video about Marathon's new season, but I felt it needed to be addressed. Maybe this video will age poorly and the game will eventually shut down. Maybe it will experience a resurgence in players. Maybe it will even become free to play like Destiny 2. Whatever happens, I have had my fun with the game, and I still do. As I am writing this script and recording footage, I continue to enjoy the experience, and I am grateful for the friends I have met through this game. With all of that out of the way, let's take a look at what is different in Season 2 and how Marathon has started adapting to player feedback. First and foremost, we have a new system called the Cradle. This system allows you to improve your base stats without having to rely as heavily on vendor progression for upgrades. Starting from scratch, I was able to nearly max out some important stats in just a few hours, simply by dismantling loot and completing easy contracts. I consider this a huge benefit for newer players, since it helps them overcome some of the game's more restrictive systems much earlier. Next up is the new shell, Sentinel. From what I have seen so far, it appears to be a very strong endgame shell, especially on maps like Outpost and Cryo Archive, where it can make chasing players significantly more difficult. On more open maps, however, I have not seen it played nearly as often. Then we have the new map, Night Marsh, which has quickly become one of my personal favourites. In fact, it is the map I have played almost exclusively since Season 2 launched. At its core, it is essentially Dire Marsh, with a few major changes. The biggest one is visibility. Without your flashlight turned on, you can barely see anything. Moving through buildings in near complete darkness, exploring abandoned corridors with nothing but a flashlight, creates an incredible atmosphere. It completely changes how you approach each run and makes every encounter feel more tense. The new tower events are also great additions. Upper Complex in particular feels almost like a highly rewarding mini-raid if you manage to solve the button puzzle and have enough credits to activate it. The UI also received a significant update to make it more intuitive and, more importantly, much faster to navigate. This was one of the biggest complaints during Season 1, and the improvements are immediately noticeable. If you have played Where Winds Meet, you probably know exactly what I mean. These might seem like small changes on paper, but after a few hours of gameplay, the difference becomes very clear. This is easily one of the best quality of life updates the game has received so far. Anyone who has played extraction shooters before already knows about the wipe mechanic. At the start of a new season, inventories are reset, progression is cleared, and everyone starts over on equal footing. This is a system also seen in games like Diablo 4 and many others in the genre. If you want to participate in a new season, you start fresh. In Marathon, this means that vendors, reputation, and seasonal progression have all been reset, with the exception of the Codex. Missions and story contracts can be completed again for new rewards and, in my opinion, they remain some of the most enjoyable content in the game. I should also mention that many missions have been adjusted. While the story and text remain mostly the same, the objectives have been streamlined and are much easier to complete. You no longer have to run across an entire map just to interact with a single objective before heading all the way back. It may sound like a small change, but it greatly improves the overall pacing of the game. Of course, we cannot move forward without taking a look at what is new in both the store and the new season pass. One of the coolest additions is the fact that if you did not finish last season's pass, you can continue progressing it now. This is a feature that already exists in games like Marvel Rivals, and I genuinely hope more games start adopting it in the future. This season's pass feels much more complete compared to the previous one. It includes a lot more skins, but not just skins. There are also resources that help you increase your vendor reputation faster. The final assassin skin looks especially good and, truth be told, it is probably one of my favourite skins currently in the game. Overall, I am very pleased with this season pass. Now for the store. I have to admit, the yokai skins look fantastic, especially the thief one. One of my favourite colours is red, and this skin is practically begging for my name and money. There is also the White Rabbit series, which has now made its way to Recon. The skin looks incredibly clean and stylish, and I absolutely love it. Overall, the quality of the skins has noticeably improved compared to last season, and that is a huge plus. Bungie is finally making truly unique cosmetics that are attractive enough to actually buy. If this game is going to have any kind of long-term sustainability, it needs cute things to sell. Before we dive into the gameplay, I need to mention the new sponsored survival mode and explain how it works. Basically, a single team of up to 3 players drops into a map with free kits, or sponsored kits if you prefer to call them that, and completes objectives without having to worry about enemy teams. The mode is still somewhat PvP light, because enemy rooks can still drop in and make your life difficult if you are not careful. That said, from what I have played so far, rooks do not seem to visit this mode very often, which means it ends up feeling like a mostly PvE experience for players who prefer that style of gameplay. When Season 2 first launched, Sponsored Survival was available on Night Marsh. It has since rotated to Perimeter. The maps themselves do not change their rewards, so you need to know exactly what you are looking for before dropping in. You will always enter with a free kit and cannot bring your own equipment. For me, this functions as a catch-up mode. It is a great way to recover gear you may have lost on the more competitive maps or quickly complete contracts, because yes, contracts work perfectly fine here. If you enjoy Marathon but dislike its heavy PvP focus, this is absolutely the mode you should be playing. And do not worry too much about gear imbalance, because sooner or later everyone ends up losing everything in the Lose Everything Factory, also known as Cryo Archive. The gameplay itself has remained largely the same, aside from a few new weapons and the addition of the new map, which is something I personally appreciate. I primarily play Marathon for its gameplay and art direction. Everything else comes after. In Sponsored Survival, you can take your time, within the time limit of course, learn the maps, experiment with weapons, and become more familiar with the game's systems. The best part is that this mode can also be played solo. You do not always have to look for a team. If you are comfortable playing solo, you can absolutely do that, and no one is going to stop you. With the exception of a few rooks, of course. In the footage, you can see us attempting the new puzzle mechanic. Since it was our first time trying it, we struggled to find all the buttons and had to extract before the timer ran out. I actually think that makes it better. You do not have time to waste if you want to secure the big rewards. So overall, are these changes enough to bring you back to Marathon if you already played Season 1? And if you are a new player, Is Season 2 finally the right time to jump in? From my point of view, the answer is a big yes. I have been fascinated by Marathon ever since it was first announced, and, as I mentioned in my previous video, this is a game I will continue recommending to others. That said, if extraction shooters are not your thing and you cannot get past gear fear, the fact that dying means losing your gear and starting over, then I am fairly certain this game might not be for you. Sponsored survival does help alleviate some of those concerns, and there is also a full PvE mode planned for later in Season 2, and yes, there will be no PvP at all in that mode. If there is one thing I dislike most about Marathon, it is the highly competitive nature of its community. There are extremely skilled players who will eliminate you the moment they see you, especially in ranked modes, often giving you little time to react. But with enough time and practice, you can become one of those players as well. And if that style of gameplay is not for you, you can simply avoid the modes you do not enjoy. At the end of the day, it is your game and you should play it however you want. And that wraps up this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please consider leaving a like and maybe even subscribing to the channel. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.